answer that question at the very bottom, which is really just a snapshot as of March 1st. Where does the district stand with regard to trying to override that cap? So back on March 1st, we answered that question as a no, and that's where we stand right now. If the district were to ever want to override or pierce that cap, that would trigger a supermajority or a 60% passing rate on the budget versus answering the question no, which is only a 50% requirement to pass the budget. Next, there we go. Okay, and once again, we presented this slide as well. So this gives a snapshot of how we arrived at the 2.15% by placing a few items into the tax cap formula that we are permitted to do, which are called exclusions. So the tax cap formula allows a district to put in capital projects and exclude them from, I'll say that the 1.45 of that minimum tax cap. So we detailed all of the individual capital projects that were permitted to do so. And that helps us, I'll say, boost the cap from 1.45 all the way to 2.15. Okay, this screen here is our summary snapshot. It's not much different. Matter of fact, I don't think it's really any different than the last presentation we had. I'll start all the way up at the top. That proposed expenditure budget line. If you go all the way over to the right, the spending, the total spending for the district is proposed to increase 1.9%. Okay, and I circled that number on the right. The next set of numbers are all of the proposed revenues from miscellaneous revenue, which could be interest income on the district's bank accounts, pilot payments, which are payments in lieu of taxes, mainly from commercial enterprises, down to Medicaid billing that we bill the state for certain services we provide to students, and then our individual reserves from the fund balance all the way down to specific reserves. And then the line just before the line that I highlighted in blue, which is our state aid line. So that's the number I just mentioned to you before, that we have not received our final state aid number yet from the state legislature. They haven't voted on that to finalize it. But that's our tentative number, that $59 million, 45,000. And then the line below it that I highlighted in blue, our state aid number that the governor proposed back in January, it only includes a 1% increase in foundation aid. Foundation aid is one of, say, 12 components of state aid. So the governor has only proposed a 1% increase for our district, which is along the lines of what they call safe harbor or hold harmless amount. We believe through conversations that we've had and information that we received that the final state aid number is going to include an additional 1%. So we have our fingers crossed that that will happen, and we highlighted that number in blue.
Mr. Hauser, that's what both houses in the state are proposing.
Correct.
The Senate and the Assembly is the 2% with the foundation aid.
Yeah. And about 3 years ago and prior, that number for our district was 3%. So it was almost an automatic guaranteed 3%. I believe 2 years ago that number was actually 0 when the state adopted the budget, and then last year the final state aid number came through with 2%. So we are hopeful that we're going to get this, and it does play a part in our proposed budget. Okay. The next line, the amount to be raised by taxes. So if you carry that all the way over, we're going to increase by 2.15%, all right? And that number ties right back to the tax cap. That's the same number. So we're going right to to the amount that the Comptroller's office will allow. For the most part, I want to just be careful because a lot of people believe that when they get their tax bill this coming December, so many, many months later after the budget's approved, people seem to remember that 2.15, and then they look at their total tax bill, and they might see a number much higher that their taxes went up. So we are only proposing that the school taxes, we don't have any say in police, we don't have any say in the town taxes. So when people get their tax bills later on in December usually, we're estimating that that amount should be about a 2.15% increase. But it does fluctuate depending upon each individual's homeowner's individual exemptions that they might have on their particular piece of property. So going down a little further, there's a line called difference, the expenditures versus the revenue. Okay, and you carry that all the way over, and I highlighted it. I believe I did in yellow. It looks a little green, and our shortfall is a little over $3 million. That's really the same spot we were at the last presentation. Okay. And then carrying down a few other lines, I'm just giving examples for particular homeowners to see how their school taxes would be affected if this budget, as proposed, were to be approved. So you carry it all the way over. You can see that a home that's assessed at $10,000, I carry it over to that 2026-27 column. You can expect your school taxes to be $2,153, which would be a $45.31 increase for the school for that particular tax year. Okay. Any questions on this slide? Okay. So moving along here.
Yeah, I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. Why do we keep saying a little over 3 million? Okay, because it's not. And on the first page, what we were talking about is, I'm sorry, it wasn't the first page. Let me just get to it. Oh, the 5G cellular booster, the removal of fiber cables. Are we talking about fiber optics that was put in?
You talking about this slide right here?
Removal of old fiber optics. Was that the fiber optics that we put in? It was bonded. And are all these issues on that page a bonded issue? Being done by a bond?
I would have to get back to you. I don't know.
Wait a minute. So the 5G cellular boost project, the removal of old fiber cable project, installation of core switch project, switch hardware project, WAN, primary dark fiber project, are those bond issues? Are those what were included in the bond?
These are new items.
The last bond or the previous bond?
Those are not items that have been included in any capital project over the last 11 years.
Okay. Is there a reason why it wasn't? Because the last time when we put in the fiber optics, okay, when we were getting everyone online, it was part of the bond.
All I could tell you is when we had the bond committee, it was not a topic that was brought up and brought forward for consideration for the board to include.
Now, having said that, we're a little bit in the black with the bond funding, right? Because you've saved us substantial money.
There is quite a bit out of the 2022 bond.
Why couldn't that be pushed over to the bond?
If you recall the conversation in December, I shared several projects with the board as to how I recommended using those funds that aligned with the narrative that was approved by the voters back in 22
Right.
to ensure that we would get state aid. Because the topics that you see here are not part of the narrative that the voters approved, we would not get state aid on it.
But we could we put that up to be voted on this? Because my thing is, if that was included in the bond, then the onus wouldn't exactly, do you know what I'm saying, right up front?
Separate resolutions can be created for additional projects.
I mean, that's $586,000, that's a lot of money. So And then building flooring project, I'm assuming that as well is not on the bond?
So any of the projects relating to flooring that were approved as part of the project have been completed.
Okay, but everything above that plant and facilities line hasn't been?
Correct. And the
Okay.
fire suppression panel, just so you see that, just to close the loop on that one.
Right.
That's a problem that's been presenting itself the last couple of years. It was not included in the 22 narrative, but we've experienced quite a few problems with the high school system over the last year, and this allows us to do that work in a bonded, in a manner that we will get state aid for it.
Okay, but if we do a resolution bringing it to the residents of the community, we potentially could move that over to a bonded issue.
I would have to get guidance. I don't know, but I believe that's true.
Okay, that's it.
And that would save us then this 586,
Yeah.
if that were potentially, if we could do that.
Right, but just be aware that because it's a tax cap excludable item, the levy amounts, the revenue would come down, that corresponds, so it would be a net zero.
Right, but it could be state aided in a different way, correct, if it was put on the bond. So it's not. Okay.
Bob, if you could just clarify what you meant by that. So if we move this and put it on the bond, you're saying that no matter what, it's a wash?
Yes, so if you removed it from the budget, the proposed budget, you would also be removing the levy, the revenue that would come from, into the district for the same corresponding amount. So, because it's no longer an excludable item, you're moving it over to a bond, so you would be reducing the levy as well. So on the proposed budget, with Sarah's comment in mind of separate state aid, it really would be a net zero. It wouldn't help us.
But wait a second. It might help us because we're doing a guessing game on our projected revenue, where we know if we move it over to the bond, it will be aided. So
The
you see
timing
where
of
I'm
the-
coming from?
I clearly do. The timing of the revenue, the state aid would be very important.
Okay, and just to clarify, when have they ever come back with the numbers before a budget vote? Very rarely, correct? We've always played a guessing game, correct, on what state aid is coming in?
Not always. Over the last, say, 15 years, they've come in on time, occasionally.
They've come in before the 20th of May?
Before the 20th and before the budget's adopted. Sure.
If we could clarify how much state aid we'd get, because we'd still, I just want to make it clear, when we have a bond, we pay our bonds. So we are paying payments towards our bonds, consistently. So it's not free money, even though we have a bond. We are just get a certain percent back because we used a bond on that state aid. And do you know what that percentage would be on this 586,000?
I believe all of those items are aidable.
Yep.
And that would be 0.66% return in state aid. But one thing
So
that,
out of the 586, we'd get 0.66%
Correct.
in
Correct.
state aid back. So the
Two-thirds.
rest of it, we're on the hook for through the
Correct.
bond, which we pay, again, in a consistent amount of money.
correct. The one thing that we have to be careful of is doing this capital work would not result in building aid next year. So by the time the project goes up to the state, after we get, if this gets approved in May, in whatever fashion it goes forward, we have to design the plan, we have to submit it to the state, we have to get approval, we have to file paperwork. And what the state does is they wait for the project completion before they'll start giving you either a half an aid payment the following year and/or two. So it wouldn't be a net benefit for 26, 27. The benefit wouldn't be reaped until 27,
But
28.
the benefit, again, is only 0.66%, not.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the only
two-thirds
savings we
on the
have is
dollar.
the 0.6. Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
My concern is, we're in the red over here, and we're clearly not over there. So that's a major concern of mine, okay? And that's a significant amount of money.
Just was only clarifying for the public, because the way it was sounding is that it was going to be free, and I wanted to make sure everybody understood that we do pay our bonds, and
I
that
don't
does
think
cost us
anybody
money.
thinks a bond is free.
I just was clarifying for the public.
If it wasn't clarified, I would have thought it was free too.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so how do we bridge the gap? So three things we continue to look at are any non-salaried account code reductions. And when I say account codes, probably the last 10 pages of the handout have all the individual accounts. Not all of them are non-salaried, but we would be focusing on those that are not salaried account codes. Realizing any attrition of current open positions or even pending open positions, which could include retirements. And then last would be any potential excessing of staff, which would include administration staff and instructional area staffing as well. Okay, enrollment. Mr. Colahifo, would you mind?
I don't mind, and it's even my pleasure, Mr. Hauser. Thank you so much. Because this is the staffing projection enrollments, this is why I'm discussing this here. As you can see, these are the elementary projections as of March 27th of 2026. We review these enrollments every month. At the end of every month, we get an enrollment report, and we make projections and predictions based on those enrollment counts. So at the elementary level, currently, we are projecting that we are going to have 4 fewer sections across the district in the elementary. Right now, we have 112 general ed sections, and we are going to have 108 next year. If you go to the secondary enrollment in the next slide, you'll see that our current secondary total, and I did make an error at the title. This is not as of February 27th. It should say as of March 27th, so I apologize about that. But you can see that our current enrollment, again, last year's enrollment is based on the June 30th number. That was 2921. And this year, currently, our current enrollment as of March 27th is 2884, which is roughly about 40 or so fewer students in our projected secondary enrollment. So you can see those numbers at each of the buildings, the OBMS, RMS, and the Connecticut High School are listed there.
Thank you. Okay, programs.
Sure, I'll take this slide. At the last board meeting, we discussed how we were going to keep the evening alternative high school that is in the budget development. The Alternative Learning Center, which is how we educate our students on suspension and our credit recovery for our high school students that need a little assistance to ensure their graduation. Those programs remain in the budget development. The High School Academy during the day, that program is not continuing, but the staff are being utilized, will be reassigned to support those students, those remaining students and their needs, as well as other students and their needs across the district. One of the positives that should come out of this finalized state budget when it does occur is that there seems to be unanimous support from the governor through the 2 houses of the state, the Assembly and the Senate, to adjust the per-student state aid for universal pre-K. And what that will allow us to do is add additional sections to meet parent needs. And so I believe the lottery is starting, Ms. Poppy?
Yes, the lottery will take place this week,
Okay.
and placements will be pending these additional monies.
Where we could add 2, maybe 3 sections and
Correct.
be able to address all the parental needs. So that should be something very positive coming out of the finalized state budget when that occurs. And in terms of the summer program, we're shifting from the BOCES Summer Enrichment Program to the Town of Islip Summer Program this summer.
I have a question about the high school academy, which I know, saying we're not continuing, but years ago when that was implemented, and I don't know this for sure because I wasn't on the board at that time, wasn't that supposed to be something that was going to bring in revenue? Wasn't that how it was supposed to be? Was it? I mean, am I wrong in that? And I'm not. So what happened? Why are we at this point now where now we're getting rid of it? Why isn't it making money? What happened?
Do we have any tuition-based students? One, we have two, and one is graduating, one is leaving. All right. The feeling is that for the number of students who are being served and the amount of staff being assigned to it, we could reassign the staff, still meet the needs of the students who are currently and would be remaining in the program, while also meeting student needs across the district, but by the repurposing, reassigning of the staff, which will enable us to provide in-house, in-district services to students, as opposed to outsourcing, to BOCES or elsewhere.
And are we really truly going to be able to serve them? I mean, I'm asking an honest question because my priority is the students first and their needs, their academic needs, their whatever needs they have. Is that really, are they going to be okay with this, reassigning and shifting this whole thing around? Are those students going to be served properly? I just want to make.
So we're looking into, I've been working with the staff that's currently there to see, what we're going to put in place for them to make sure that they are supported going back into the high school.
I think there's also the opportunity to meet other needs across the district, psychology, special ed, across the district, not just at the high school, but with the staff.
Can you just explain to me one more time what the summer playground program even is? Like, and I tried to even look online and it's just like a flyer from the town of Islip, like, we have this. Doesn't even say what it is.
My understanding in speaking with a representative from the town is that it's a recreational playground program, right? So it runs from 9 to 2 p.m. and the students are there in organized activities that are determined by the director at the site, right? So it's not an academic program. It is a purely recreational program. That's my understanding. There is an existing program that runs at the Bohemia Rec Center, and it consistently fills up. And so Islip has been asking us for a number of years for the use of one of our school buildings in order to present a satellite option in this area for children. And so they approached us again this year with the request.
So cost difference between, it's going to also cost us because we need, I'm assuming, security, and if they're at our school, like, what is, just to understand what exactly this is.
It's about a $40,000 benefit to the district, right?
Okay, but the difference was that the BOCES program had like an educational component to it.
In theory, in writing, but in reality, Ms.
Right.
Poppy?
So it was an enrichment program. They've tried a number of different versions of what academic enrichment looks like through that program over the summertime, and it has certainly varied annually in terms of the products that they offer. And essentially, they're similar. The BOCES program was a little bit longer of a day option for parents, but the tuition is also significantly more expensive for families.
This might be out of our knowledge base, but if we're, do our residents get first priority at like our playground for this program? Like it's our taxpayers, you know what I mean? Like do then they get the first shot at going to whatever, Sycamore, whatever it is?
So all of that, that's a great question. All of that is organized by the town of Islip, and I can ask the representative whether they would be, willing to consider that in terms of their student placement.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if the rec center fills up, right? So then what is the point of this for our community members if town of Islip fills it up with other, like, not that I don't want every kid to have a playground program, but that doesn't really help our community.
We'll communicate it as an expectation.
That sounds good.
Okay, moving along here. So one of the things we try not to dwell on much is a contingency budget, but it's important that the public know what might happen or what the possibilities are if the budget the proposed budget that's adopted, to be adopted by the board next Tuesday, when that budget is voted upon in May, if 50% of the voters who show up to vote, not who are eligible to vote, but 50% of the voters who show up to vote do not vote in favor of the budget, okay, the board will have some decisions to make here. So if the budget were to fail, all right, one of the decisions to be made is to just present the same budget up for a revote. The second would be to present a revised budget, and that revote would also take place on Tuesday, June 16th. And the third option would be to adopt a contingency budget, which I'll get into on the next slide. So if the budget, if the budget vote were to fail twice, the Board of Education must adopt a contingent budget with a 0% increase in the current school year's tax levy. Okay, I can tell you in my 5-year tenure with the district, the budgets that have been approved have had significant positive voter approval in either the high 60s or even the low 70s. So when we talk about a contingency budget, okay, there are spending limitations, all right, and one of those could be what I just described as a 0% increase in the current tax levy. So the monies that we are authorized to collect from the residential taxpayers and the commercial taxpayers to operate this current year, they would not increase at all. So we would have to operate the district in the next school year, which would start July 1, with the same amount of tax levy income that we're operating with now.
Bob,
Okay.
could you just clarify, if that ever happened, wouldn't that result in, we would have to go back to the budget and find even more money and more cuts with programs, staffing, and everything that we listed on the 2 pages prior? If that ever happened, if the budget fails, we would be in a worse position and our kids would get even less.
Yes. So I'll go back to this slide quickly here. So in the middle of the page is a line that's called amount to be raised by taxes. And if you carry it to the right, 3 columns, you can see that we're currently collecting $148,840,217 from the Connecticut School District community to operate the current budget. Okay. Right now, we're proposing to increase that by $3,132,521. That's a 2.15% increase. If we were to go to a contingency budget, we would not be able to increase that $148 million number at all. Okay, so that $3,132,000 increase, we would have to start looking at the codes very, very carefully.
So my thing is that we should have looked at the codes very carefully before now. And it's not 3.1. It was originally more than 5.6, okay? And I'm sure we bandied around a number of 16 million, okay? This is, and I won't sit here and have the residents of this community threatened and are menaced that we're going to have to cut and we're going to have to do this. We haven't gotten one answer on this, not one. So let's not go there yet.
Okay, and just to finish up, just focusing on the contingency here, there are certain other restrictions, mainly when it comes time to the administrative component of the budget. Budget's broken up into 3 parts: administrative, program, and capital. So there are restrictions as well on the administrative component. Okay, that's the end. Any questions?
Yeah, I want to just piggyback off of what Sarah just said and really give the transparency to the community, because I did want to go back and look at the difference between the projected revenue and the expenditures for the last few years, just to give the community an idea of where we're at the end of February in each year. Now, In February 2023, it was about 3.3. February of 2024, 5.6. February 2025, 3.6. This year, it was almost $8 million that difference was. A tremendous change from the previous years. And I understand we don't know the state, what they're going to give. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, because I highly respect that what you do with the budgets, what everybody does here, administration, trying to figure this out. But I am going to go back to why was this not brought to us, that it was 16 million? Because here we are now, we have 1 week left to make these decisions. It's being suggested, as April said, almost like I heard it come off more as a threat, that if we don't pass this, we have to cut things, cut programs and everything. I don't like to put that on the people. I'm not one of those people, a board member that's going to go out to the public and say, if you don't pass this budget, I'm taking this away from your kids. I will never do that. Ever, ever, ever. So I'm not going to go there. But again, I don't understand why we were at that huge number of 16.8, and we're at the last minute here trying to figure this out, what to do here, to a point where even at the last meeting, the same board member almost suggested to pierce the cap, which I would never do, by saying if we don't, it's unrealistic to think that we're going to be able to keep everything if we don't pierce the cap. And I've never pierced the cap either. There's got to be a better way to do this, to handle this. And I know at this point, here we are a week from having to adopt this, or maybe say no to it, whatever the board decides. But we really need a deep dive into this. And I know it's been suggested over the years to do a forensic audit. The support wasn't here. We have to do that. We have to really, really look at this, a forensic audit, and get an outside company to do this and look into this budget and see what is going on, that we were at 16.8 of a difference between our revenue and expenditures at the end of February. I was actually astonished when I saw that number. So I don't know how the board feels about that, but we absolutely need to go there and look into this to see where we can really, really cut the spending and save up our taxpayers some money. This is enough. Everything's going up, and they don't need this. So I don't know.
So my concern is, and I've stated this over and over again, $16 million with not one definitive answer as to any of those numbers. Down to last week, it was said to me, the week before last, it was said to me, where are you coming up with this 5.6 number? Well, that was before it was brought to the Board of Education. And when it was brought to us, that we were in the red 3.4, okay? Categorically not true. So I wanted to know where those cuts came from. Again, crickets. This cannot go on. There's no answers for this. The fact that it was over 16 million, it's not just expenditures, projected revenue, everything has to be audited. Because to date, we have no answers, not even one. And we're being backed into a corner to say, we have to vote on a budget. I don't agree. I represent the residents of this community, and until I get answers, at least one definitive answer. And I won't threaten the public by saying, we have to do cuts if this doesn't pass and people are going to lose their programs. No. I want to know where that $16 million figure came from. Say that. I want to know where the 5.6, which constantly was being refuted by administration.
So,
Got it.
yeah, I just would like to make it clear, never, ever did I say I wanted the tax percent pierced. I know, I can't even get it out because it's like overwhelming that this lie is just going on, bubbling all over, social media. I said that I, as a taxpayer, would never pay more money. So as a board member or taxpayer member, I would never pierce the tax levy. Never, ever, ever. As for the threats, this is giving the community information. They need to understand that if we didn't pass the budget, what would happen? The public needs all the facts to make an informed decision. we can sit here and make believe that we don't need facts. I agree with you. We need all the facts. So I'm giving the facts. He's explaining the contingency plan. They need to know, what does that mean? That means this is a action reaction. If we do not pass, the reaction is going to be the reality that we are going to have to do those things. It's not a threat. These are just facts giving to the community.
How do you propose to bring a budget to this community when we have no answers? And when I say no answers, I mean 0 answers, okay? This district, I've never seen this before, okay? This district needs an in-depth forensic audit because to date, yet again, there are no answers, okay? And it was intimated, piercing the cap. Having said that, we are threatening them, but you're saying the onus falls on us and we have to present a budget. How do you approve anything given to us when there are 0 answers? I mean, none.
Go ahead, Dr. Summer.
So, Mr. Hauser was explaining to the board, but it's good for the public to hear it, that you look at snapshots in time, and so at the end of February, that number of 16 million happened to be a snapshot in time in comparison to years prior. What we do every year is we do go look at all the codes, we do look at the projected revenues, the projected expenditures, and we also try to reconcile and bring information to the board in a timely fashion. A lot of the things that were being worked at that time this year, we're looking at aid projections, but especially the aid on the capital projects. Those numbers were not accurate at the time. Trying to project salaries, trying to project the use of reserves and fund balance, especially based on the information from the closing of the books. So it was really a snapshot in time. And then what a cabinet will normally do each budget development is we're going to look to see areas where we can tighten things up as much as possible and bring something that's a lot more workable. And this deficit is still significant, but there is the ability to bridge that gap through the areas that Mr. Hauser has presented. Mr. Hauser, is there other pieces of?
No, that's okay. So Ms. Parisi actually did have a forensics audit during public discussion that she wanted to bring up, but let's do it now. So last year, actually, Jax Napolitano-Ferno did bring it up during a public meeting that we should have done a forensics audit, and in hindsight, she was right. I know, Sarah, you and I have had this conversation. I think a forensics audit for the district would be beneficial, and it would help us to see where the money is being spent inaccurately and how to save the money and how to line item and budget better. We should have done it last year when Jax brought it up, but here we are this year, so.
It's so much more than that, okay? Because a snapshot in time doesn't answer these questions, yet again, okay? I'm constantly being told it wasn't 5.6. No, it was more like 16 million. I asked about budget transfers. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but I voted no on all monetary issues for more than 4 months. Okay. And the reason why is, again, I asked about budget transfers without any explanation why we're doing it. Okay. And constantly we were approving budget transfers. Well, why? Well, because they were going into the fund balance. What do we have in the fund balance? I also asked, with that snapshot in time, Dr. Centimore, I also asked, why are we so much in the red? Why, in fact, were we 5.6 to begin with? By the way, my number was inaccurate. It was actually higher. And I was told, I said, was it projected revenue? Did we not get in what we were supposed to? Or was it simply excessive spending? I was told on the excessive revenue, on the projected revenue, that came to 1.8. Very fixable. Okay, 1.8 doesn't answer the rest of that question. How did we get to 16 million in the red? Okay, now we're not. I was told we transferred funds, we did this, we did that, whatever. 5.6, now we're at 3.4, now it's 3.1. It doesn't matter because the board is not being given any answers. Snapshot in time is not an answer, okay? We've asked very pertinent, specific questions. Show me where, because if it's only the 1.8 projected revenue, okay, where's the overspending for the rest of that, for the difference? And to date, not one answer to that. I was at one point given the answer because we send kids out of district. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, with all due respect, all of these are snapshot in time, right? Every single time we look at this one sheet that gives us the new difference is a snapshot at that moment. And, you know, in comparison to other years, this February was really, it was a lot. And, you know, I mean, it sounds like we now this year have a majority. Last year, as you said, Jax brought it up, and I agreed with her to do forensic audit. And I hope that we do it. We look into it. Whatever the next step is, I say, let's get on that, absolutely, to really do a deep dive into this.
I've asked the attorney, is there any way we can not vote? Because quite frankly, we have nothing to give the residents of this community. We don't know the answers. We don't know where that money went, okay? Why we were so deep in the red. I was told, no, you can't postpone a vote. I was saying, is there any way we could not adopt a budget on the 20th? Because how do you say vote for this when I have no answers? I said, can we make it on on the date of when, if it failed, you know, what is it, June 20th? I'm sorry, what's that date?
I could start the answer to that question.
No,
Marisol,
Marisol, legal. Okay?
No, I know.
Because my thing is, where there's a will, there's a way.
So I actually called NISBA, and I asked them legally if we could do that. And legally, we cannot do that.
How do we know if people don't have the answers, Marisol? We're going to throw out just a fake budget?
No, if you could just let me finish. I called them and I spoke to them and I asked them for the legal ramifications of not presenting a budget. And we cannot not present a budget. It is our one job. It is our one job as board members to come and present a budget. So back in 2003, it was 2003, they allowed for a delayed budget vote because the House and the Senate hadn't approved the budget for the state yet. And that was the one and only time that it was allowed to be delayed. Mr. Fasano, you can correct me if I am wrong.
Sounds like we're not getting it this year either.
But I would agree with Marisol. You don't have to call this, but I'm happy to give that advice, and I know I've already given that advice. It's an obligation on part of the board. To the extent you have information that would prevent you from passing that, you would be able to abstain from passing that, but it is a duty of the board to pass a budget, and if you need any additional information, anything my office can provide, or if you need assistance with coordinating with any of the other people on the table, I'm happy to help as well.
Anthony, how do we get the answers that we've been systematically asking since March 10th? Because, quite frankly, that's when we got these numbers. And since then, we've been given adjusted this, there, this, that. Nothing. No answers.
So
okay?
to the extent...
So, wait a second. So we're just supposed to go along blindly and say, residents of this community, pass this budget, but we have no answers for where that money went. We have not one definitive answer as to where that money went. How does a Board of Education with a clear conscience go to the residents and say, pass this, when to date there are no answers? We just say, okay, you know what, we didn't get the answers that you voted on us to get, but pass this. It doesn't work that way. There's got to be another answer. And my thing is, it's probably because this has never occurred before. Answer.
Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Hauser?
Could you just for to pivot a little bit here, explain, I think what we do a lot too is like we have these conversations and then we don't explain what we're talking about. The difference between the presentations, right, from, we use the word, we have an auditor, somebody comes and gives a presentation about an audit, versus the forensic audit that we're talking about, so like the community understands the difference in what we're talking about as well. We have audits that are we talk about, we have somebody come here and present things, and then now we're talking about a different one. I think it's important to explain what it is that we're saying we should do and why.
So I can only speak to the current auditors for the district. One of them is the internal auditor, R.S. Abrams. We are audited every year on 2 items of a particular department, and then they also perform a risk assessment audit throughout the whole district. That's one auditor. The other one is our external auditor, Cullen and Danowski, and they are, I'll call it our financial reporting auditors. They are the ones who audit all of the different funds, all of the different accounts, revenue, expenditures, and fund balance. And both those auditors issue reports each year. I'm not familiar forensic-wise with what type of forensic audit the district wants to get.
This might be a stupid question. How did the external auditor miss? I looked through the past 2 years of reports. It certainly didn't point to this serious
They said
of
more
an
than
issue.
5.6 million, and we need to be very careful of the fund balance, okay?
My point
but-
being that,
It's
Do you
also not
remember hearing
outside
that?
beholden to the administration.
because I don't remember, I know what you're saying. My point being, it feels like it's just been from start to finish, that it's kind of just been shifted and not, we throw the word transparency around a lot. And it feels like there's just been a lot of things that were like, go ahead, this is good, oh, just be careful. This was more than like a be cautious, right? Like this was like a sound, it seems as though this should have been more of like a sound the alarms type moment than like a be careful, guys. And that's my concern right now. Like what did we pay for there?
So a forensic audit, as far as I understand it, an outside firm or company would come in and go through all of our books, go through our spending, go through our revenue, and see where we can save money, where we're spending too much money, where we can tighten. Just an overview of the whole district's financial situation. Like she does, but this would be a more in-depth audit.
Solely for the board.
Correct.
It's basically, just to really, really make it in layman's terms, regular audit is, do the numbers add up? Forensic audit, did something go wrong? That's basically what we're finding out.
And how can we fix it?
It'll also explain
Yeah.
16 million.
Right. And if anything happened, I'm gonna say it, fraud, anything else, it would uncover anything that went wrong to get you to the numbers that are there.
And Melissa, just pertaining to what you said, I've called 4 different superintendents. One's retired, okay? And I asked very specifically after March 10th, when would your Board of Ed know that they were in the red to the tune of 3.5? This is before I realized 5.6, so then I called back. And I was told, well, legitimately no later than October. They certainly wouldn't be doing budget transfers without explaining. They certainly wouldn't. Listen, this is, I'm not here to be nice anymore. I'm here to find out the answers, okay? I'm not getting the answers. I've stated that over and over and over again, okay? My record is showing more than 4 months now voting no on monetary issues because it wasn't adding up. 2 + 2 was not equaling 4, okay? And being vague at best never works for me.
You know, for the last several years, we've been talking during budget development and even with the closing of the books with the auditors about the use of fund balance and reserves. And it's certainly been something we've been very mindful of. You know, when we talk about spending, we also have to realize the rising cost of all things. and how those percent of increased cost are often double, triple that of revenues coming in. So I just want to state that.
Dr. Centimore, with all due respect, I'm going to steal your line. That is vague at best, okay? And inflation and the cost of living doesn't equal the numbers that are being brought to us, okay? Sorry.
So, can we get a consensus on who would be for a forensic audit?
I am. Me?
Can we find out information about the cost of this before we end up?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the cost would be about $10,000 to $15,000.
Well, it'd be at
Well,
hourly.
equating to 16 million?
Yeah, I
need the
I
official cost.
just know that we know the cost because when Jax brought it up last year, we did look into a
But that-
roundabout cost.
I didn't think that was the cost for forensic, and, you know, do you remember, because the 10K that we got from BOCES, I thought that was on the grid and the population, and doing that, it was not for forensic audit, it was actually for the population, and we were doing the class sizes and the differences between the community, and that's why we decided not to do it, it had nothing to do with the budget.
That's what I thought it was. We were talking about the potential of
Yeah.
the John Pearl conversation.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
But I just cost-wise, right?
Well, who would be for getting a cost analysis?
I am
getting
all
it
for
all
a
for a
cost
cost me.
analysis.
Okay.
Okay, can I say something? Clearly, it's going to cost money. But again, then I hearken back to this budget, okay? How do we get answers without an in-depth forensic audit, okay? Not beholden to anybody here for the answers and/or how something might have been. No. Answers. Because something's amiss. Beyond amiss. Okay? And it's been happening. I can't even tell you. I find it scary since I got on this board that I get next to no answers. Okay? And the fact that no one cares that I legitimately was voting no on monetary issues because anytime I asked a question, again, vague at best, smoke and mirrors. A forensic audit is needed, okay? We're bringing forth a budget that we, again, have no answers on to the constituents. How do they trust us when we are readily saying we have no answers? We were 16 million in the red, and I still have not even one line item answer.
So I just speak for myself. I am definitely for a forensic audit. I just need to know the cost that it will incur the district before I say yes. It's just a simple fact. I need to know how much money I'm saying yes to.
Maybe we could take it out of the overtime money that was approved after it was spent.
I was just going to say, similarly, I am not, I agree that we need that. However, I feel as though I would look foolish to be sitting here talking about spending issues and not ask the question of how much something is going to cost just before blindly saying yes. But it is something we need. But I think if we have to start, we cannot go backwards, right? We can't go backwards. But like transparency, the way we use it, it needs to be that, okay, we, as the board that you elected, feel this is necessary, this is the cost, right? Like, all the facts need to be there. That's all I was saying, is like, I just need a dollar amount, I'm fine with getting the dollar amount, and then going from there. I just didn't want to be like, yeah, hire the guy tonight, I don't care, like,
I know what you
that
mean.
feels
and I
reckless
respect
right
what
now.
you're saying, Melissa. My thing is, so correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying we need the forensic audit, just give us the number of how much it costs, because, quite frankly, it's pocket change that wouldn't even be felt with the 16 million.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Mike?
I just have a quick, it's a bit of, it might be a stupid question. When you guys
Not a
say,
thing. That's not a thing.
silly question, when you say a forensic audit is just for the board, does that mean the information's, that's
No.
not
So
what-
they're hired and work for the board,
Okay, but it's not,
and then it is presented to the
okay,
community.
I was about to say.
For
that,
sure.
That didn't make
Yeah,
sense.
no,
Alright, thank
it's
you.
not just for us to keep and take over.
What I mean is, it's not, the forensic audit would work for the Board of Ed, okay? Not the administration, you understand, not anyone that would, not that they would, This is a completely hypothetical, okay? Where they can't orchestrate and/or hide stuff.
Yeah, and I get that too, obviously with the money. But I am very much for the forensic audit, but of course, we want to see how much it's going to cost. You know, not blindly saying yes, but I do think, you know, we get those numbers. Of course, we have to see the cost, but I think it's worth it because in the end, we might find that we will be saving enough that would almost cover that. We just don't know. But yeah, no, definitely look into it, whatever information we can find about it, and I'm for doing that.
Absolutely.
I want to
same.
clarify too, I don't want any dallying on the dark side on things that should not be touched, that are given. I have always believed a zero base, you start, but you can't legitimately with the school district. However, when you take the employees and the insurance and everything out, which should never be touched, nothing should ever be done with that, okay? Everything else can theoretically start at a zero-sum base, okay? And again, that may give us some answers, but no, we're not getting it.
Yeah, agreed with everybody. Like, I think we need to do a forensics audit. I think that the district could benefit from it, but yeah, of course, I want to know how much it's going to cost us.
I just want to go on the record that if it's $25,000, it should be done. Because, again, I can't impress enough that come next week, how do you present a budget to people when we haven't even gotten one line item? One question, nothing. I don't know because, again, I'm getting Googled answers.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Hauser? Mr. Hauser, thank you. Okay, moving on to financial matters. Can I have a motion and a second to approve financial matter number 1, Treasurer's Report from February 2026?
Motion? Second.
All in favor? Aye.
No.
Yes, I'm getting to that. Any noes?
No, I am going to abstain.
Any abstentions?
Me.
Okay, so, did you get that? Have a motion and a second to approve the overtime reports from July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026.
Motion? Second.
All in favor? Aye.
No. And
Yes, I'm gonna get to the no's after the ayes. Ms. Iannatelli?
No.
Oh. Any no's?
No.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm voting no on that specific thing is because I happen to know that people have not been paid overtime where we're approving overtime.
Any
They've been
abstentions?
shorted.
Me.
And Mr. Aversa? Oh, you said aye? All right, so 2 ayes,
I just want to
2 no's and an abstention. So
Yeah, I want to
failed.
explain something here, that when we're approving the overtime already happened. And we're approving it after it's actually been, what do you call it, performed.
Yeah.
So I just
So
want to.
I don't know what happens now, like, I don't know if the people
Right,
just get their
so-
paychecks
But what
deducted.
does happen if the board denies that?
It just did.
No, I know, but I could change it. I want to understand because it already happened. These people already put in these hours. I might not agree with them, but they did put the hours in, and I don't want to see them not get paid for something that they think they're going to. So can you explain? Anybody?
Well, you have contractual requirements that you have to pay your employees timely, including overtime. And there's also FLSA requirements that if an employee is working overtime, especially any of those at or near minimum wage, if they're working additional hours, they're entitled to be paid overtime by law.
So it doesn't matter if we say yes or no.
Sure. So there's really 2 parts. There's one, contractual requirements, and then there's legal requirements. So under the contracts, you're required to be paid them overtime when they work overtime. And then the other issue is under FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act. If an employee, especially those at minimum wage, if they work additional hours, they're entitled by law to overtime pay at time and a half.
So again, it doesn't matter if we approve or not then.
Well, you're not paying it, and then that would subject you to contractual grievances, arbitrations, and possibly FLSA federal lawsuits.
So we have no choice. That's what I'm trying to say, because they're performed before we're asked. So I need to change my no to a yes due to the fact that under the law, we need to pay them.
Yes, if there's an issue with them working overtime, you should stop that before they actually do that.
Agreed, thank you.
as a part of the overtime, my concern is, and again, part of the forensic audit, I would request that as well, because there's so many discrepancies, it's scary. Okay, I happen to know for a fact, because I've seen paychecks, people have brought them to me. They worked a certain amount, and they were not given the overtime, okay? People that kept copious notes and books on the hours they worked can prove that.
No, we're all mad right now. I just want to take a beat for a second because we almost just landed in a spot where like the people who are working more than they have to for us didn't get their overtime pay that they already worked. So like, I just want to take breathers for a minute because I'm not okay with if people worked overtime, especially, and then they didn't get it. And I know we can handle that when it needs to be handled. But like, I don't care whether or not we had a choice legally. Like, I value the people who work here enough that if they worked the hours, they should be getting paid for them. Like, can we breathe before we really, like, I'm getting a little agitated here. That's insane, what almost just happened.
Yeah, that's, my concern is that, yet again, something else is not adding up. Doesn't make sense. And I can't, with a clear conscience, vote okay. I don't care that it was already done. Okay, because they're clearly, if it was already done, they're doing it without us anyway.
Mr. Hauser and maybe Mr. Coliva, can we look into if we're aware of anyone who performed overtime that was not compensated, because that has to happen?
They were told they were.
So I'm just going to do a roll call vote from going forward because this is getting really too confusing. So there were 3 yeses for the overtime report votes. There was a no and an abstention. Ms. DiLorenzo, you abstained, right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can I get a motion in a second to approve the cash flow report July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026?
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Iannatelli.
Yes.
Ms. Terragrossa.
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
Sorry, just with all this stuff that we're hearing coming out. Yes.
Ms. Parisi.
No.
And I'm a yes. Can I have a motion in a second to approve the trial balance reports from July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Ms.
Yes.
Iannatelli. Ms. Terragrossa.
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
Yes.
Ms. Parisi.
We're saying since February?
July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026.
February up to the 16th?
The trial balance reports.
In the red? Yeah, no.
Okay, I am a yes. Can I have a motion in a second to approve the appropriation status reports July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026?
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Iannatelli.
Yes.
Ms. Terragrossa.
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
I'm just not happy with how these budgets are. I'm just not. I'm not happy
Sure,
with
I mean, you could,
We have a little
I'm-
explanation on this?
yeah, absolutely.
Be a little bit?
Do you have a question, Ms. Parisi, in particular?
Yeah,
or?
explain the appropriation status. Okay, I want a quick overview for the residents of the community, very, very quick.
Sure, I can help with that. So the appropriation status report, and there are 4 reports listed as part of that particular resolution, detail account by account the expenditures, whether they're being the general fund, the school lunch fund, the special aid fund, or the capital fund. There's a column for the budget. If there's any adjustment to a budget, there's an adjusted budget column. And then there's an expenditure column, which is the actual amount of monies that would have been paid to a particular vendor. There's a column called the encumbrance, which is an outstanding purchase order that has yet to be paid or be liquidated. And then the far right column on an appropriation status report would be the monies that are available as of that ending period. So in this particular case, as of February 28th, the monies that are available in that particular account code.
have any of those already been paid?
Subsequent to February 28th, we would have to go line by line to see which accounts
So-
were paid.
But they shouldn't have been, but they potentially were.
The available balance?
The things that you just brought up, were any of those paid before tonight?
Would you mind providing me with an
I
example?
mean,
Which
between
fund?
July and February.
Yeah, the expensed column are the monies that have been paid.
Without board approval.
Oh, with board approval. The claims auditor works for the board.
Right, so then we're simply revoting now? That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Is that what we're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
I believe what Sarah is saying is that we are confirming that we are paying out these monies that we had approved.
I guess if that's the way you want to look at it, yeah.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Parisi? And I am a yes. I have a motion and a second to approve the revenue status reports from July 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions? Ms. Iannatelli?
Yes.
Mr. Agrosa?
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Parisi?
No.
And I am a yes. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the claim auditor's report for March 2026?
Motion?
Second.
Any questions? Ms. Iannatelli?
Yes.
Mr. Agrosa?
Yep.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Parisi? And I am a yes. Okay. Mr. Abraham, you are up, sir.
Okay. I don't have too much. I just have a couple things I want to share. Firstly, all right, mostly good things. One not bad thing, just one thing I want to I just bring to attention. On the first day back from break, we were having a little bit of issues with a lot of the technology at the school, like the network. I know a couple of my teachers was having problems with getting connected to the network. And I think it was dealt with swiftly. Like, I believe today it was fine. But I just want to bring attention that it's so close to AP exams. This could be a little bit detrimental. You know, one of my teachers was very stressed about it because, we're coming up right to the point of where these exams are happening. And, yeah, I think it was dealt with fine. I just wanted to, I guess, address it. I didn't want to let it go completely under. But then onto the good. So today, a few of our, I believe, freshmen were recognized as regional winners of the Explorer Vision competition, which, funnily enough, is the second time in Cadet Quad history that this happened. I was a part of the team that won the first one, and we went all the way to nationals. We won. We got flown out to DC. It was awesome. Great experience, great competition. And 3 years later, there's another team that did it. So huge shout out to them, and it's a huge deal, big thing for Connect Quad Science. I'm very proud. And lastly, I just wanted to highlight, I suppose, the good of the community, and with a small example. So I'm the president of the Honor Society, and today we had a meeting, and we were going through a couple of different community service opportunities that we had shared, not necessarily ones that we run, but just things we had shared. And it was from all different things. It was from, different religious organizations, different just organizations that do good for the community. There's one that was against domestic violence. There was a Boy Scout troop that was doing something in awareness of cystic fibrosis. Just a lot of really great stuff. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate how good we are as a community at sharing things, not just, it didn't have like the National Honor Society logo slapped on it, and it wasn't like, oh, we're running this event, but just trying to get people to help out in things that are good for the community, regardless of credit or recognition. So I just think that that's something that is great that we have, and I appreciate as a student and somebody who lives here about Connect One.
Mr. Abraham, if I may, thank you for offering all of those wonderful points about our programs and your experiences recently. I did just want to touch, I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. But I did want to touch upon that technology piece. So there were some infrastructure upgrades that were made over the break as recently as last weekend. And so some of the interruptions that your teachers probably experienced at the high school yesterday were because of those upgrades. And a simple restart of their computer, I think, probably resolved the issue in most of the cases. So rest assured that things should be moving in a very smooth direction beyond what you may have experienced yesterday.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on the science fair. Well done. All right, public comment. I will now open the floor for the first open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments shall be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1.
Oh, good, it's on. Okay, right off the bat, yes, a forensic audit is definitely needed, required, has to be done. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen this year. It's not going to give you results before we're going to go to budget. So your job in the next 7 days is to come up with some sort of budget that everybody can live with. If you pierce the cap, you will follow in the same path Station did last year. They tried to put up a 5.4% budget, went down terrible. The second time it passed, it was under the cap. This is a job that everyone has agreed to do. You've got to do it. And some days it's ugly, and some days it's distasteful, but putting the budget out there is what has to happen. And if you put up one that's going over the cap, I think we're going to find the same problem Sachem had, that is, it's going down in flames. So make it right the first time. Along the lines of what's happening with the Greater Ronkonkoma Civic, we are having a meeting on Wednesday, April 22nd, 7 o'clock, RMS. We're inviting any board candidates who will be running, your paperwork will be in by now, to come about 8:30. We will do the usual meet greet. You can give us 5 to 7 minutes of what you'd like to tell us about yourself, and give the people in the community a chance to see who you are and some of the things that you stand for. We will also be having a Meet the Candidates question and answer on May 7th at Sycamore Avenue School at 7 p.m. And the only problem we're having there, Dr. C, maybe you can help us, is that they do not have a PA system. So if there's some way we can get a portable one there where the moderators who ask the questions have a system and the people on the stage who are answering the questions can have a wireless mic, we're expecting that to go on about 2 hours from 7 to 9. So that's what we're doing to try and work with the community. And I think you're going to be unpleasantly surprised when you see a price of an audit that's going to go through 1,500 line items, line by line. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2?
Good evening. Here we are again. All right, there you go. How's that? Better? My name is Greg Von Brook. I serve as the Operations Unit President. I was here 3 weeks ago to urge you all to reconsider the proposed job cuts to our unit. At that time, I touched on critical self-sustainability of the positions, the vital role they play in the proper operation of the district. I'm here tonight to reinforce that message with facts and a plea for the future of our schools. It's important to understand the context of our current budget shortfalls. These gaps stems largely from the introduction of programs and employment funded by COVID relief grants during the height of the pandemic. Our unit staffing was increased by 12 in operations. However, unlike many other programs and employment sectors that have remained expanded, our operations staffing was already returned to pre-COVID levels. We are already back to the minimum number required to sustain the district. Any further cuts aren't just trimming the fat, they're cutting into the essential backbone of the operation. We've been here before. 2 years ago, a maintenance mechanic position was slated for elimination. At that time, I stated clearly that removing that role would fall below the minimum requirements for the safe district maintenance and would not provide the financial savings projected. You agreed with the assessment then, and that the vital position was restored. The reasons for the restoration remain true today. We cannot afford to cycle back into a deficit of skilled labor that leaves our facilities vulnerable. I'm asking you tonight to restore these positions, restore them. This is not a simple request for headcount, it's a necessity. If you cannot do it for the immediate financial well-being, which we all seem to be concerned with in this district, then do it for the health and safety of every student and staff member who walks into the building every day. We must maintain our standards of excellence and safety. Thank you for your time and consideration and the commitment to this district.
Thank you. Number 3. Number 4.
Good evening. Just to clarify, this is my first time speaking here. You said I cannot identify myself. Is that correct?
No, you can identify yourself. You cannot identify an employee of the district.
Wonderful. My name is Michael Howland. I am a father of a Slocum student, presently in first grade, going into second grade next year. This document that I received tonight really reiterates kind of the foundation of why I'm here. I see an inadequate saturation of student distribution amongst classes. We're talking about reducing faculty. You are the Board of Education. Education is the foundation of what we're here for, not all the peripheral nonsense, the things that we're going to disagree about. But we're here to teach our kids what they need to learn. Foundationally, my daughter is in an integral stage of fundamental learning, and her class is already at, in my opinion, a number that it should be beyond. I know that in staffing assessment...
I'm sorry, sir. Can you just wait 1 second?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not, for sure, because I'm saying important stuff. I'm a little, frustrated, too, to be honest with you. I know that Dr. Centimore's email has been hit pretty hard with people reaching out specifically about this, but I'm alive in the flesh, man. I'm like, email... It's not going to get it done. My daughter and her classmates and her peers need support now, not 5 years from now when they're in middle school. So I think it's really important that we assess the distribution of this. I'm seeing math as an obstacle in general, being my first time here. So obviously that's indicative in a multitude of areas, perhaps. And I don't mean that as a dig, but I would like to think that if your child was a student in the district, you would be going to bat for them, going to work for them. That's the most important thing. Technology, fiber, all that stuff's great, but it's nothing to do with what my kid's learning in the classroom and the support she's receiving. The deficit can't cut personnel at all. Obviously, I'm hearing overtime issues. Just to tie that in, circling back to that. Overtime typically corresponds with a lack of personnel and a shortage. People are working more because there's not enough coverage. So if we're really concerned about budgetary concerns and and acclimating that and finding the true deficit areas or overspending. I think we need to evaluate the talent and personnel we have. Without that, we're really spinning into the wind and hoping something is resolved. And I think we owe it to ourselves and the community and our children. And I'm on the clock, but I mean, I'll sit here all night and talk with no disrespect to that, because first and foremost, education is paramount, and that staff can't be cut or lost or displaced or shared with another respective school because there's a shortfall in that institution as well. I appreciate your time. I hope you consider everything I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just, sir, just know that when we do get your emails and your concerns, we do read them and we do take them into consideration. I know that class size is something that this board discusses at length, and it's very important to us as well. Ms. Anatole?
Yeah, that was actually going to that comment. I wanted everybody to know that when they do email us, they do not get lost. We do read them. We appreciate you coming in person too. That's never something we're going to, deny, but we do read the emails and we are hearing. I know.
Thank you. Is there a number 5? Okay. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the instructional personnel items as presented?
Motion. Second.
Any questions? Ms. Anatelli? Yes, everything.
Yeah.
Yes, it got messy. Ms. Anatelli? Yes. Ms. Torregrossa? Yes. Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Parisi?
I'm going to have to abstain, but I want to answer as to why. I had specific questions. It dealt with and I'm not giving names, but it dealt with transportation and certain issues there that I'm still waiting on an answer for that as to why we're hiring someone in 2 capacities. It kind of seems like double dipping, and I'm getting an answer on that. I'm waiting on one, and I'll get it soon.
Ms. Parisi, are you referencing the nurse?
I am.
Okay, so I want to let you know that the nurse is being hired in 2 capacities. She's being hired as a per diem sub, so if she has to be assigned to a building or as a float nurse, or if one of the nurses is out, she could get called and be paid for her service as a substitute. The second capacity at which she is being hired is as the transportation physicals nurse. Those physicals happen after hours, 4:30 to 7:30. I actually have the dates that those are being given. If you give me one quick second.
Also,
I'm sorry,
just
Ms.
to add
Parisi.
on to that question, just maybe you can answer it as you're doing this. We had issues with proper certification. Is this nurse properly certified to do these tests? And I know we have 3 other people.
So
I'm sorry, 3 or 4 other people that we're hiring in that capacity. But my point with that nurse, again, is if we're hiring her for the district per diem, right? I get it. How does that work? She gets a stipend to do that? Is that overtime? How does that work?
I don't want to interrupt this conversation, but that is the non-instructional, and right now we're doing instructional personnel items.
But it's included in that.
So the non-instructional is next.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're right. So I just was wondering how you're voting on the instructional.
I'm voting no. How do you say we might be cutting and then hiring people without answers? Yet again.
Understood. And I am a yes. Now, can I call for a motion and a second to approve the non-instructional personnel items as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Ms. Parisi?
Okay.
Mr. Kohler-Heifer, go.
All right, here we go. So there are 3 nurses who are being assigned. There was physicals were being given tonight. They're also being given on April 16th, and then again on April 21st. Those times are from 4:30 to 7:30. This sub-nurse who is being appointed to that secondary position will be paid at the same rate as all other CTA nurses. I don't have the exact rate, but it is as per the contract. And it's not it's not technically overtime, but it is additional pay. So, for example, maybe on 4/16, when she's doing the physicals from 4:30 to 7:30, she worked as a sub that day. So she'll be paid her sub rate for the work that she does. And if she was in the high school, it's from 7:06 to 2:06. And then at 4:30, she'll come back and she'll be doing the physicals for 3 hours, and she gets paid the rate that is in the CTA contract. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know that rate off the top of my head, but she will get paid that rate, and she's entitled to it. Now, as far as the question that you had about her certification, she is a registered nurse, and my understanding is that she has all the necessary requirements to be a nurse, as she is a registered nurse, and therefore, I don't know the specific requirements or certifications for the physicals, but there is a doctor present as well, I believe. So, you know, again, this is traditionally how we've done it. I know you and I had a conversation that you said that it's only ever been done during the day. This is a case where it's not. This is a case where it's being done after hours. So.
And again, yet again, I'm wondering if it can be done and sectioned out. Clearly, they're doing it several days, right? So if you have someone who's per diem, right, as needed in the district, and again, if someone works overtime, I want them paid, okay? I want to pay whoever works for the hours they work. That's not my point. If it's sectioned off within that unit where they mandatorily have to have these physicals, right, specific physicals pertaining to bus drivers, if it's sectioned off as it's clearly being now, why is it being sectioned off after hours? Why couldn't it be there where it falls under the per diem? It's just my question.
I totally understand, but bus drivers are driving buses during the day.
Not all day long.
They do have time during the day. Typically, it's like 9 to 1 or 9 to 12:30, something like that. But the nurses have other responsibilities to the schools, the students.
Not the per diems.
We don't have that many per diems, but I do understand where you're coming from. But I don't know that we have enough time in the day to get the physicals.
All I'm asking is it's over several days. So,
right.
I mean, scheduling, whatever it may be.
I will talk to Ms. Pisani and see how we can do this differently in the future.
Ms. Iannatelli.
Yes.
Ms. Torregrossa.
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
Yes.
Ms. Parisi.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay. A begrudging yes, but a yes nonetheless. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions on that item?
Yeah.
Do it.
Budget transfers, is this pertaining to fund balances, slush fundy, reserves type of thing?
It is not.
So it's transfers for legal fees?
Bus laborers.
Yes. And bus labor repairs?
I'm a yes.
Yes, and not Mr. Fasano's fees. Ms. Iannatelli is a yes. Ms. Torregrossa?
Yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Parisi? And I am a yes.
Ms. Ballin, may
Yes.
I interrupt for a second? Because I have an answer to Ms. Parisi's question.
Sure.
Never let it be said that our administrators aren't watching board meetings. They do. So I just got a text from Dr. Pisani, excuse me, and she had said that we work around the doctor's schedule, and that's why sometimes we're not able to do this during the day.
Is this the district doctor?
Yes, it is.
He gets a pretty good sum of money. He can't make himself available for pre-orchestrated physicals.
I don't know. We can have that conversation.
It doesn't
with him,
matter.
but
He took the
Dr.
job.
Pisani can reach out to him and
I think, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the, whatever. I'm just not. Can I have a motion in a second to approve the 2026-2027 scope before and after care agreement?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions on that? Ms. Inatelli?
Can we please just try starting with all in favor, because these are getting a little bit better than our budget?
Sure.
She just wants to do the all in favor, then you say yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then-
Any noes? Any abstentions? Perfect. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the flow-through contract Kids First Evaluation and Advocacy Center?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Excellent.
Sarah, you want these all separate, or can we add, because they're all flow-throughs?
Yeah, there was one that I think wasn't a flow through.
Well, the next
There's an IMA with Sable Public Schools in there.
The next 6 are flow-through contracts. And a motion and a second to approve items number 5 through 10 on the consent agenda, flow-through contracts.
Second.
Any questions on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the school service agreement, United Cerebral Palsy Association of Greater Suffolk?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion and second to approve the inter-municipal agreement of Sable Public Schools combined fencing team.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any questions?
Yeah.
Go do it.
I know that we used to have a fencing team here a while ago. I'm not sure. Did that discontinue and start up again? Do we not have enough people, and that's why we're sharing this?
I'd have to ask Mr. Mallory about the history piece to that. I don't know that information
Okay.
at this point.
Nope, her seen it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Have a motion and second to approve the Health and Welfare Service Agreement, Uniondale School District.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, can I do the next 3? Can I have a motion and second to approve 13 through 15 Health and Welfare Service Agreements? Yep. Okay, but just a motion and a second first.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Ms. Parisi would like it explained, please. The Health and Welfare Service
So
Agreements.
this is for nursing services for students that go to private schools. So we pay like a portion of that health service. So a student that goes to St. Anthony's or St. John's, or there are certain fees that we would have to pay for. So that's our service agreement, is that they're providing nursing services for our students.
So the,
No, these are private and, right.
the public school where the private school is located, if you're sending a child there, they're able to bill back the proportionate share of whatever it costs for them to send the nurse to the private school. That's under Education Law 912.
I do not, but I could get a number of private school students for you.
All in favor? Aye.
Can we do 16
Yeah.
and 24 together?
Can I have a motion and a second to approve 16 through 19 of the consent agenda flow-through contracts?
Motion.
Any questions on 16 through 19? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion and a second to approve item number 20 of the consent agenda, Facilities Use Organization?
Motion.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes?
No, I kind of have a question.
Okay, let's do it.
Could that be clarified a little bit, facilities use organizations?
So the list of organizations, and it's a running list from the beginning of the school year, are organizations that according to the district's policies have submitted a request to use the district facilities, and they have provided the required paperwork.
Basketball, soccer. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion? Sometimes. Yeah, it depends. Can I have a motion and a second to approve items 21 through 24 of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Flow through contracts.
Motion.
Any questions on 21 through 24?
Explain, could someone tell me what Little Angel Center is?
I just need your mic, Ms. Parisi.
Can we have an idea of how many kids do the Little Angel Center and what exactly is it?
Little Angels is a preschool program,
Okay.
and I don't know the exact number, but I can get you the exact number of students that go through there.
Okay.
Number of 20 on here somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that right? On page, well, there's no page numbers. Of the second one, the second page. The number of section 619 students placed was 20. The number of section 611, I guess two different sections was 20 again. Am I reading that?
Who knows?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion and second to approve item number 25 with consent agenda, impartial hearing officer?
Motion.
Any questions?
Yeah. Is this, someone explain this to me.
So
Impartial hearing.
So we have a list of rotating impartial hearing officers.
Right.
That are approved by the board. And during the reorg meeting, we have that list approved by the board, but every so often, some get off that list and some get on that list. So when we get notification that an impartial hearing officer is now in our rotation, we have to approve it.
Oh, okay.
Not that we're
Okay.
using them, it's just that we have to approve it.
I thought it was already approved, but okay. That makes sense.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Marisol, can I harken back to 24? New interdisciplinary school. I just need a clarification on that as to
That's also a preschool program.
Okay.
You good?
Yep.
Okay.
I think part of the issue, if we could work on doing better, the part that Jackie was referencing says attached as Exhibit A. There is no Exhibit A attached, right? So if there's an exhibit, can we make sure that it is part of the document that is up?
Is that for one of the flow-through contracts?
That was
for the Little Angels.
Could we not redact all the students just for the number purpose? You know what I mean? Like, just, this is where it gets confusing, because it says, like, there's these exhibits, or the mic wasn't on, there's names of students on it, which is why it's not
Which I can't
attached.
put on there, but I
Right.
can give you the number of students.
Like,
That
right,
would
if we can
help.
just, like,
Okay.
whatever we can, I think that's where it reads weird on that now, because.
All right. Superintendent's update, Dr. Centimore.
Thank you, Mrs. Mallon. So a lot happening in the district, and even just prior to the break, I hope everybody enjoyed the Easter, Passover, spring recess. Prior to the break, there was an outstanding district-wide showcase of the arts that was held at the high school. Student fine art, dance, and music was on full display. Thank you to the entire arts and music department and all of our students and staff. As Michael was sharing earlier, today Toshiba USA honored two students, Daniel Ellers and Abir Medhir, for their science research, which is very impressive, on the thymus-like grid for training specialized T cells. Also, we had two students receive honorable mention for their work on a hematoprime, and those students were Antoni Wojas and Timothy Tadero. Congratulations to them and their science teacher, Mr. Pedersen. This speaks volumes to the district's science research initiatives and partnerships. Connecticut High School student Kimberly Greenwood recently received second place in the entire state from the Office of Statewide Civic Engagement of the New York State Unified Court System's annual Civics Essay Contest, so very prestigious. This week, senior Vincent Faraka is being honored at a special event for football scholars. And next week, high school student Haley Grieve is receiving a community service award at the town of Islip. So congratulations to all of our students in all these areas on their wonderful accomplishments. Tomorrow is the library literacy celebration at the high school in the library. It'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. Friday, the high school PTSA has their pound auction fundraiser that begins at 7 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. I will serve as the auctioneer. On Sunday, members of the high school Tri-M and Orber are holding a spring recital fundraiser for St. John's Church at Oakdale that begins at 3 p.m. Next week on Wednesday is the Suicide awareness varsity softball game at 3:30 p.m. And then later that evening is the seal of biliteracy ceremony at the high school at 7 p.m. On Thursday at the high school is Personal Financial Literacy Day. They have a number of speakers and events throughout that entire day. That's on Thursday. Next Friday, Idle Hour has their talent show at OBMS at 6. And then as we proceed throughout the month of April, RMS and OBMS, they have their incoming 6th grade parent orientations. It's on the 28th. The spring concert season begins. I believe we have over 20 concerts that go from the very end of April, beginning April 29th, through the end of May. April 30th, our students in grades 5 and 8 will take New York State Science Assessment. And that day, from 4 to 6 p.m., is our Disabilities Awareness Fair, which our Disabilities Committee has worked extensively on. We're looking forward to that event. May 1st, RMS and OBMS have their career days, and May 1st and 2nd, high school has their comedy production at 7 p.m. each evening. As always, we thank the PTA, SEPTA, Auber, who are our music and arts boosters, our athletic boosters, Rotary, and Civics for all that they do in support of our students, staff, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Centimore. We have the Board of Ed committee reports. We have the Disability Committee. Ms. DiLorenzo?
It was our last meeting for the year because of course, the, as Dr. C mentioned, the event, Disabilities Awareness Fair, which is coming up on Thursday, April 30th. That's in like a little over 2 weeks. So it was just kind of a meeting to basically finalize everything, if anybody had any questions. Plus, there's a flyer out there, and, you know, we hope to see people there. The game begins at 4:30, but before that, we have students performing the pledge and the national anthem, so it should be really, really nice. Really great event. It was great last year, and then, it's not a long event. Game's at 4:30. It's probably going to be done like, maybe it was like an hour and a half. About 6 or so, but there's going to be raffles. Each of the schools made baskets, so there'll be a lot there. There'll be even some giveaways, food. Everybody likes food. Usually, food brings people. There's, going to be some food there. So, it's really going to be a great event. Again, that's Thursday, April 30th, and we hope to see a lot of people there.
Perfect. Thank you. Board of Ed topics. iReady, Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yeah, I recently learned, actually just, I think it was yesterday maybe, that there was some kind of a lawsuit with iReady that I don't know if it's students that are claiming, like, not a data breach, but just that their privacy is not protected, and I don't know the details of this really, but I did learn about this. I wanted to hear more about it, and I've said this many times. I worry about parents not knowing what student information is out there. I think I've, said that till I'm blue in the face, that I want to make sure there's always parental consent. So what is happening with this lawsuit? Do you know anything about it? Is that going to affect us? I know we use iReady. I don't want our students' information out there, of course, so any information you have on?
So that's not what I thought you were going to say. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I just learned it like yesterday, and I got to ask if we even know about this.
Okay, so there is an online, I'll say a growing presence about iReady, but it's not connected to a compromised data situation. It has to do with some, I think, localized critiques about some of the components of iReady when they're used instructionally, and what type of research-based backing iReady has for those materials when they're used instructionally. I've read through a couple of blogs, and my understanding is that that's growing. In Connecticut, though, we don't rely on those components of that digital platform for our core instruction in ELA and mathematics. So I was going to sort of allow that to flesh out. I have heard about a potential lawsuit in another state, not a New York State lawsuit, relative to another platform that we're actually phasing out called Naviance. Do you think that perhaps was what you were
No,
hearing?
it's actually
Definitely
it was like
iReady.
K to 12 students, I think, that were, I honestly don't know a lot of details because I literally.
I saw the same social media post. It was
Yeah,
definitely iReady.
Looked into it and then I saw a few things, but I didn't, it was so late, I didn't have the opportunity to really, really dig deep, so I said, maybe I'll ask you, maybe we can just make sure that it's okay.
Mr. Fasano, do you know about it?
Yes, so there is a class action lawsuit. It is in California. I don't know the number of students, but there are a number of students that are alleging that it improperly collects student information.
But because the allegation is in California, is it contained to California?
So I don't know specifically what platform that was used and what type of information that they're alleging. I'm not familiar with that. But I would presume that the New York State Data Privacy Office would actually put out an alert if there was a concern for all New York State school districts. I have not received any concerns from State Education Department on it.
And we haven't either, so.
Okay, all right, no, I just wanted to make sure, because I heard that and I was like, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any topics?
I do.
Excellent.
I'm curious, Sabrina, how many people took out papers to run?
I gave out 4 or 5.
There's separate people or one person?
3 to 1 person, and then 1 to another.
Okay. And, I'm sorry, Anthony, it's like a serious question. How does the comptrollers get involved with the district?
So the comptroller would generally be conducting audits. That's usually as it relates to some type of financial impropriety. That's usually when you see the comptroller's office. The state office of the attorney general also does conduct a number of investigations in the district. They have more broad powers. But when it comes to the comptroller, it's usually something financial related.
Okay. So, and just one more question. Dr. Centimore, you had said many things, right? Good things that are going on in the district. How do we get that information out to citizens, senior citizens of the community who aren't computer savvy? Because we go to the senior communities, they would love to go to auctions and I don't think you could call them Chinese, whatever they're called now, plays and things of that nature, because there are many that don't even have a computer.
Yeah, so, in terms of no computer, then, website and things like that are not going to help. We could certainly look to give some print material at the public library, where they might be,
Or senior citizen
their
facilities,
homes, yeah.
like dittos put out on the table.
Like, what's the one that's across from, the Arbors and, yeah, okay.
I mean, it
Yeah.
brings money into the PTA. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And they love to go to those things.
No,
I know my mother did.
Yep.
We could also just, I'm sure, contact these, like, the arbors, places like that, and I'm sure they have emails that we could send this to that they could print and distribute and put them out, you know what I, like, it's, instead of making it a federal case where it's like,
Okay.
we need a mailing, like, we can contact them, I'm sure they'd be happy
Who
to.
contacts them?
My office.
Organizations too, running the events can contact them, because it's the PTAs and all the different,
So anything district related, Dr.
Yeah, if it's a
Centimore just said
district-related
his.
event, probably my office, but if it's some of the organizations like PTA, Orber,
PTA council. Your microphone.
PTA council and PTA presidents send some of the stuff out so that they know to give notice to these
Yeah.
facilities.
yeah, I like the idea.
There's also the electronic info boards outside the schools. I know, but people do drive around and people do read them sometimes.
Wait, the ones that said we couldn't hire drivers and there were no drivers available on everything, but there were? Okay, sorry.
We digress. Does anybody else have any Board of Ed topics? Okay. Does anybody in the audience wish to have a public comment? You do, okay. I do not have to read the whole thing again. The same rules apply from the first time. I just need to state that. Having said that, number 1. I don't care. I like it.
So I wanted to qualify one thing, and that is that the Meet the Candidates question and answer at Sycamore is being run by the 3 local civic associations, Oakdale, Bohemia, and Ronkonkoma. You go to your meeting before that, and or go to the people who run it for you. If you have questions, we are going to gather questions, give it to a committee. They're going to decide what questions to ask. We're going to try and keep it as clear as we can. So any candidates who are running, please come. I don't know how many of you, when I look around the room, I don't see many who are going to be as old as I am, but I remember when school board elections were all kinds of different days. There was never the same day, and now we're all on the same day, probably like the last 20 years or so. So May 19th, we're going to have a budget. We're not going to be able to go May 20th or May 21st or something else like school districts used to. So the work you guys got to do, it's got to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2? Anybody else?
Hi. So I see that this high school academy has been eliminated. I have to say, I don't really understand what that is. I thought it was something different. I thought it was the academies that we created not too long ago. But either way, it seems like it's one of the things on the chopping block. So I'm wondering if that's the case, that we eliminate that to save money, but then you're keeping all the teachers and repurposing them. Where is the savings with that?
I'll just let you finish your comment and then we'll circle back.
Sure. And then as far as all that overtime that we were talking about that they weren't getting paid for, somebody had to allow them, to say there's overtime, if anybody wants it. So maybe that's where we need to start, and maybe make them responsible. If anybody's not going to get paid, maybe those people, whoever allowed it, obviously shouldn't have allowed it, I guess. That was the other thing. And the last thing always is the transportation department. I don't know why I've always felt, and now even though my kids are out of the school for so many years, I continue to hear it through people in the community. Have you ever been to transportation for an issue? Have you ever been? Oh yeah, I was, but it was years ago. It's the same, it seems to be the same thing there. There's a whole array of people in the office, like to manage how many people, how many bus drivers or mechanics or whatever it is, 130, 150 people, I think, at best. It just seems like a lot of people. I think of our guidance counselors, and they deal with hundreds of kids each, and their whole careers they're helping them set up. I just don't understand why there's so many big people in that office, and I think the majority of them are drivers. Why are they driving? And we take back some of the routes from Suffolk. There's a little bit of a savings, maybe not millions, maybe not to the tune of 3 million or whatever we're lacking, but I know that there has been some change in staff in there, and people have come in to try to, look at things, and maybe not too many changes have made, but I just don't really understand why there are like so many dispatchers or so many people in there that I would assume if they're behind there, they're getting paid more, and probably they should be driving. I don't know. Just a thought.
Thank you. I'll have Dr. Sentimore respond to the academy question.
Yeah, so we're looking to maximize the impact on students across the district, especially including those students from that program, but also district-wide. We want to repurpose that staff and be able to impact even more students throughout the district, really maximize the impact of the staffing.
I think she was asking too about where the cost is.
The cost savings, right.
What is, if they're still there, where is the cost savings?
So the cost savings would be potential savings in the future by being able to service more students in district, because we're repurposing the staff, and they're going to have an impact on a broader number of students, both at the high school as well as across the district.
Anybody else? Can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.